Okay, now let's look at how we regulate blood flow to different parts of the body. Maintaining an appropriate mean arterial pressure is absolutely vital, but we also need to determine how that blood flow is distributed among different tissues in the body. Specifically, how do we preferentially increase blood flow to one tissue while decreasing or maintaining blood flow somewhere else? That's what we'll look at next. The distribution of blood flow is regulated by two broad mechanisms: extrinsic control and local control. Both of these can alter blood flow primarily by changing the diameter of the arterioles supplying a particular tissue. Remember that arterioles are major resistance vessels, so even small changes in their diameter can substantially alter resistance and therefore blood flow to tissue downstream. Let's begin with extrinsic control. When we say extrinsic, we mean the signal originates outside the local tissue. Extrinsic control includes hormones and neural input from the autonomic nervous system. We haven't discussed all the relevant hormones yet, so I'll list a few here for completeness sake. The key point for now is that circulating hormones can act on vascular smooth muscle and alter vascular resistance. Regarding the autonomic nervous system, we have sympathetic and parasympathetic divisions. The sympathetic nervous system is by far the more important autonomic regulator of vascular tone throughout most of the circulation. Parasympathetic innervation of blood vessels exist in selected regions, but overall its contribution to systemic regulation of vascular resistance is relatively limited. The sympathetic nervous system innervates most systemic vascular smooth muscle. The vascular smooth muscle of systemic arterioles has alpha receptors, and stimulation of these alpha receptors results in vascular smooth muscle contraction, producing vasoconstriction. Because vasoconstriction means decreasing vessel radius, it increases the resistance to blood flow. Let's contrast now the extrinsic control with local controls. Local control refers to signals generated within or near tissue itself. These mechanisms allow a tissue to adjust vascular resistance, thereby adjusting blood flow according to its current needs. Under normal physiological conditions, the local control mechanisms help match tissue blood flow to the changing metabolic needs. Imagine the metabolic activity of a tissue increases, such as occurs when doing one-arm curls. As metabolism increases, local chemical environment surrounding the muscle of the upper arm begins to change. Several substances can contribute to this response. For example, adenosine levels can rise as ATP is metabolized. Carbon dioxide and protons are byproducts of many metabolic pathways, so their concentrations can increase as well. We'll also see extracellular potassium can rise. As tissues consume more oxygen, oxygen levels decrease. These local metabolic signals can promote vasodilation. As a result, they reduce arterial resistance and thereby increase blood flow specifically to these metabolically active tissues. In highly active tissues, these local vasodilatory influences can be strong enough to substantially oppose sympathetic vasoconstriction. This allows an active tissue to increase its blood flow even when overall sympathetic activity may be elevated. The increase in blood flow that recurs in response to increased tissue metabolic activity is known as functional or active hyperemia. Hyperemia is a word that means increased blood flow. Functional hyperemia therefore describes an increase in blood flow that occurs when a tissue becomes more metabolically active. Let's now look at another important participant in the local regulation of vascular tone, the endothelium. The endothelium is a single layer of cells lining the cardiovascular system. It lines the interior of blood vessels, including arteries, arterioles, veins, and capillaries. The endothelium is not simply a passive lining. It actively participates in regulating vascular function. A healthy endothelium is vital to maintain cardiovascular health. One particularly important substance produced by healthy endothelium is nitric oxide. Endothelial cells contain the enzyme endothelial nitric oxide synthase, or ENOS, which produces nitric oxide. When nitric oxide is produced, it diffuses from the endothelial cells into the nearby vascular smooth muscle, where it acts locally as a paracrine agent. In vascular smooth muscle, nitric oxide activates a signaling pathway that sequesters intracellular calcium, thereby reducing smooth muscle contraction and promoting relaxation. When vascular smooth muscle relaxes, the blood vessel dilates. Endothelial production of nitric oxide is one important mechanism for regulating vascular tone. Another important stimulus for endothelial nitric oxide production is shear stress. As blood flows along the endothelial surface, it creates a frictional force on the endothelial cells. We call that force shear stress. When blood flow increases, the resulting rise in shear stress can stimulate endothelial signaling, increasing endothelial nitric oxide synthase activity and increasing nitric oxide production. The nitric oxide then promotes relaxation of the underlying vascular smooth muscle. This provides a mechanism by which increased blood flow, as we saw with functional hyperemia, can promote additional endothelial-dependent vasodilation. I want to briefly mention endothelial dysfunction because it offers a useful link between normal physiology and cardiovascular disease. Several cardiovascular risk factors are linked to reduced nitric oxide bioavailability and impaired endothelial function. These include cigarette smoking, obesity, abnormal blood lipid levels, hyperglycemia that we may see with insulin resistance or diabetes, aging, and chronic inflammation. These conditions can interfere with nitric oxide signaling. We won't focus on those specific mechanisms, but I want you to recognize that disrupting a healthy endothelium's ability to regulate vascular tone has significant consequences for cardiovascular health, the leading cause of death worldwide. So let's finish by putting these mechanisms in a couple of different categories. We have extrinsic control, which includes autonomic neural input and circulating hormones. Of the autonomic mechanisms, we mentioned sympathetic activity is particularly important for regulating vascular resistance throughout much of the systemic circulation. These extrinsic mechanisms are especially important for coordinating vascular resistance throughout the body and helping maintain an appropriate mean arterial pressure. Then we have our local control mechanisms. In this lecture, we were focusing primarily on metabolic factors and endothelial signals such as nitric oxide. These local signals are particularly important for adjusting vascular resistance within individual tissues so that its blood flow is appropriate for its metabolic needs and local conditions. So this is the main distinction that I want you to take away. Extrinsic mechanisms primarily help coordinate the circulation as a whole to maintain an appropriate mean arterial pressure, while local mechanisms primarily determine how much of that available blood flow is directed to individual tissues according to their needs. These systems are not completely independent of one another. They operate simultaneously, and the blood flow through any particular tissue reflects the balance between systemic regulatory signals and the local conditions within that tissue.